Good afternoon, art history. This is Mrs. Jones coming to you straight from my dining room table. We are going to pick up where we left off with Romanesque art and really dive in to sculpture. So some things that I want you to think about in terms of sculpture is at this time period, we are really seeing a revival of monumental stone sculpture. Remember, we talked about there are many pilgrimages occurring at this time all across Europe. Many basilicas and cathedrals are popping up along the pilgrimage road. And we described when we were talking about architecture, the adornment on the exterior of these basilicas and cathedrals were really meant to attract the attention of worshipers who were passing by on these pilgrimages. Similarly to the Greek temples, where they highly adorned their temples on the outside because the worshipers were outside and they were meant to tell the narrative to the worshipers who were partaking in those services. Similarly to that, they are adorning these basilicas and cathedrals with just religious art that, again, were meant to help people understand the teachings of the church. And just think about this. I mean, at this time, most people couldn't read. Most people didn't understand Latin. And sculpture and murals provided a visual representation for them to begin understanding more of what the church had to offer them. In this image, I just wanted to kind of give you a visual of the primary pilgrimage route to Santiago de Compostela. So here, this little yellow area, Vezelay, that's where Saint Sernin was, where we talked about one of the first cathedrals, and all the way across France, all the way up into the northwest corner of Spain. Now we're going to take a look at some new vocabulary. This vocabulary is going to be in relationship to the portal or the entrance, and we're going to follow along with this diagram, but we'll look at some more specific examples later. So tympanum is one of the very first words, and this is referring to this kind of semicircular area above the portal, which typically was highly adorned in relief sculpture. And so mainly under this arch, and typically in Romanesque or Gothic cathedrals. And again, anyone entering the church would notice this decoration. And remember, they couldn't read, they didn't understand Latin, so these sculptures were meant to embody the teachings of the church so that people would understand. We're going to talk about mandorla. Also, we don't see an example of it in particular with this image, but a mandorla is basically an almond shape, which is kind of the outline around typically a divine, it's meant to represent a divine light, usually around Christ. And I'm going to fast forward here if we can take a look at this. So this is an actual tympanum here. And so this kind of almond shape is meant to represent divine light, again, around Jesus. And so we're going to go back here. There we go. And the other word that I want you to know is archivolt. And notice the word arch inside archivolt. So referring to the arch, these archivolts are framing the tympanum, and again, also had some different sculptural elements to them. Here we are looking at St. Madeline in Vezelay, France, and this also was a pilgrimage church and a very, very beautiful one. While we're looking at this view of it, I want you to notice the long nave, and then we have the appearance of some flying buttresses. If you look, this facade in the front has 3 portals, one main portal, and then 2 into the side aisles. And you can kind of see those carved in arches, those archivolts, and then the tympanum over the top. And then often they also had statues on the side, which we're going to refer to. But St. Madeline was one of the largest Romanesque churches, and it actually houses the relics of Mary Magdalene, who was a follower of Jesus and present at his crucifixion and resurrection. And this particular tympanum is considered one of the most beautiful of all Romanesque tympanums. And honestly, it really had a special meaning in the age of the Crusades, because if you think about the Crusades and the teachings of the church, it was basically every duty of every Christian to spread the gospel to all ends of the earth. And so I just want you to kind of look at this from a distance before we look at it up close. Just beautiful. And imagine being a pilgrim, being someone walking past this and seeing this artwork. Now, there's a website that you can go to that is a 360 tour of St. Madeline through Columbia University. But since I'm on this, gosh, I can't even remember the name of it, screencast, I cannot click on it right now. But I want you guys to do this on your own. And as you look, I want you to try to identify the vocabulary of the floor plan that we see. So remember nave and transept and crossing and side aisles and all of that. You can look at your diagram again. But right now, we're going to go ahead and just look at this tympanum. This is called Mission of the Apostles. Remember, their mission was to spread the gospel. So as we are looking at this, I really want you to pay attention to the symbolism. Down here at the bottom, this is the lintel, okay? And the compartments around the central figure. So right in here, around, and then the lintel. These are representative of the heathen world, and it is said to include all sorts of different legendary races. And so the heathen world being people who don't know the word of God, so they're not enlightened. The archivolt, actually, so right in here along the top, these are actually signs of the zodiac, and there are laborers that are appropriate to every month of the year. It also indicates the preaching of faith is an unlimited in time and space. Overall, when you look at this, I'm going to go back to the other picture here. When I look at this, I would describe this as being very crowded, very agitated, and this is a pretty common feature of relief sculpture at this time. Relief work primarily dominated Romanesque sculpture, especially at St. Madeline in Vezelay. Figures are in such high relief that many are carved almost in the round. The depiction of Christ is also an outstanding example of Romanesque skill with decorative line. Like, look at the drapery in his garments. They really definitely were emphasizing line quality. But just again, when you look at this, I want you to think crowded, frenzied, agitated. It's going to be a lot different than what we see later on. But there was definitely a rapid growth of stone sculpture. And again, this is reflective of the growth of religious fervor among the population before the First Crusade. So I want you to check this out. When we zoom in towards the image of Christ here in the center, and this one you can see the line work a lot easier too. There are literally like bolts of lightning extending from his fingers. These rays of light that, where do they go? They connect straight into the heads of the apostles. So it's like he's endowing them with power. We're going to go on the next one. And then here on the lintel, as I described before, this is meant to be the heathens of the world. These are like the ungodly people of the world. They don't know Jesus. They haven't heard the good news of the Bible, and legendary races. So you can see this one. This is actually a pygmy that is trying to mount a horse. So he is so tiny that he has to have a ladder going up. And there's also these mythical creatures with these big ears. Check that out. Here's an illustration. This is a panati, these characters that have big ear. They typically are sleeping. Like, do you see them? They're sleeping inside their ears. Like their ears are so huge. They are wrapped up inside of them. In the next image, you can see these scenes represent the world in which apostles do their work. So look at them. They're like half dog, half people. So again, there are these kind of barbarians almost. I mean, they're just the heathens of the world, the people that do not know the gospel. And so they're represented in a lot of different ways here. All right, we are going to wrap up here in a minute. I want to introduce you to Saint Lazar, which is going to be in Autun, France. You guys are going to watch a little video through Khan Academy that's about 10 minutes long, and it is going to talk about this particular tympanum that is pretty prevalent and well known in Romanesque sculpture. Again, think about this. This is a pilgrimage cathedral. Pilgrims are coming to see sacred relics, and Saint Lazar is where the relics of Lazarus are. Lazarus was the brother of Mary Magdalene, who was brought back to life, and his bones are some of the relics that were there. And people believed that religious relics, had a lot of power to them, that they were able to heal the sick, and that if you paid homage to these relics and came to see them and made your pilgrimage, that you would spend less time in purgatory. And honestly, this was pretty great for the cities because their cities prospered because people were seeking out places to stay and food to eat from local businesses, taverns, and such. But you're going to check this out. This is The Last Judgment, a really, really stunning piece. I'm going to show you just a few different images here, but I really want you to think, I mean, this is called The Last Judgment. This is the Christian belief that basically the world is going to end and all humankind will rise from the dead and they will be judged. And there are just these really interesting scenes happening here with angels. And again, we see the depiction of different heathens. Here you can see they're actually weighing the souls. Look at their agonized faces and literally people being plucked from the earth. And so it's just really, really interesting to learn about this piece. There's just so much symbolism. So I'm going to leave off right here, and you're going to follow the link then to the Khan Academy video. I'll see you guys on Monday, okay?